Errol Spence Jr. is not playing any games with you. Errol Spence Jr. insane shape for the upcoming fight. A couple weeks out. Ugas. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Errol Spence Jr. Wow. The kid is not playing any games. Errol Spence Jr. had his media day yesterday, and my goodness, the man is in shape. He in shape. Y'all better stop that cab. Now, I don't know what it is about Errol Spence that I just feel like a lot of people hate on him. It's insane. You know, me personally, I see like, and when I'm saying people, I'm not even talking about really fans. Like, who cares? I'm not talking about the fans. I'm talking about like other fighters. I feel like other fighters kind of dig at and dunk on Errol Spence. For example, Sean Porter recently stated that Errol Spence is not even top 3 material. Now, I understand the welterweight division is a stacked division, but to suggest a guy who's trying for 3 belts is not in the top 3 and he beat you and dropped you, you know, I don't know that that's fair, me personally. But to each his own. This is what Sean Porter said. Sean Porter, in a media scrum, he said that he rates Terrence Crawford. Then he said it's Keith Thurman. And then he says Ugas is flirting with number 3 or pushing 3 or something to this effect, which means Errol Spence is not in the top 3, according to Sean Porter, who fought everybody and fought all those guys. You know, Sugar Ray Leonard, Hall of Famer. I remember when Errol Spence was about to fight Mikey Garcia, he was interviewed and they said, "Hey, Sugar Ray, who you picking to win, Errol or Mikey?" Sugar Ray Leonard said, "Mikey." And they said, "Huh? What? Like, how come? Why are you picking Mikey?" He said, "Cause it's Mikey." Man, what type of ish is this, bro? I'm picking Mikey because it's Mikey, you know? And this, so on and so forth. I mean, this is off the top of my head. I know I'm a genius, but I can easily think of various examples of how Errol Spence is constantly counted out. I mean, Bob Arum. Bob Arum, he did an interview fresh off Errol Spence's accident, and he says, "I have it on good authority that Errol Spence is not ever going to be the same, and he won't be able to box." And, you know, he scared people. We'll put it that way. Bob Arum scared people because he was making it sound like Errol Spence was paralyzed. And you got to remember, at the time, we didn't know. We're not doctors, and we're not privy to the medical records and stuff. So we're not privy to what's really going on unless you're in that inner circle. And they were all saying it was looking bad, especially guys like Bob Arum. They're saying it looks bad, and like, you know, like another Paul Williams type of situation. So me, I'm rooting for Errol Spence. He's a black man. He's an American. And I don't like the way he's been treated, to be honest. And I feel like it's funny that you see any other like region or country that they get behind their compatriots, except for in America. In America, you could be Floyd Mayweather and then get booed in Vegas at a weigh-in because of, you know, whoever, Canelo or whoever, you know what I'm saying, whoever he's fighting, things like that. Errol Spence, Bernard Hopkins, we'll add him to the list. You could be an Errol Spence, and Errol's a chill dude, you know. I've been around him numerous of times, and he's a chill dude, family oriented, you know, he's funny, he likes to joke, stuff like that. And Bernard Hopkins, to me, was hating. Bernard Hopkins and other people in media, YouTube channels, people just within boxing media, they were hating. They were saying like, "Oh, Errol Spence, the patch was on this side, now the patch is on this side, and he patches O'Houlihan," you know? And I'm like, man, they really got it out for Errol Spence. You know, just like he's fabricating his eye injury that forced him to pull out of the most significant fight that would have been on his record. That a guy he called out. let's keep it a buck. Pacquiao been called out by Errol Spence for several years, just like Keith Thurman. Pacquiao didn't fight Errol Spence, and it never came into the fold until after the accident. So there's that. You know, why do you want to fight? The whole time he was like quote unquote healthy, and before the accident, why didn't Pacquiao's team respond to Errol Spence and say, yeah, we want to fight you next? Like immediately before the Sean Porter fight or after the Sean Porter fight. I mean, that's kind of a stretch because Sean Porter, he got in an accident like a couple weeks after, but you guys get what I'm saying. The Pacquiao, he fought Mikey Garcia, AT&T Stadium. Pacquiao jumped in the ring. The networks, of course, would love it because the networks wanted it when it was scheduled before the eye injury. So why didn't Pacquiao want to fight the Errol Spence before the accident? And you even listen to his team or then team, guys like Justin Fortune. Justin Fortune said, oh, I don't think Errol Spence is the same since the accident. So they were making comments, like people on his team were making comments that Errol Spence may not, he may have lost something in the accident. So, I've told you since I started my channel, I'm a big fan of underdog stories. I'm a big fan of underdog stories. And Errol Spence, even though he's undefeated and maybe he looks like an unlikely underdog candidate, he's kind of like an underdog because it's kind of like you got guys like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather wasn't losing, but he was still an underdog because people wanted to hate and people wanted to see him lose, And this is the experience of a lot of Black American fighters in general, where it's like no matter what personality type they have, whatever their astrological sign is, they could be an Aries, they could be a Leo, a Virgo, a Gemini, Scorpio, it don't matter. Old media seems to hate regardless. Like if you trash talk like Broner, he's hated. If you trash talk like Floyd, he's hated. Andre Ward's a God-fearing man, don't do no trash talking. Old media still was hating on him. Errol Spence, he'll, I guess, trash talk if pushed, but other than that, he kind of just do his thing. Old media, they hate on him. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's a never-ending cycle. So in a way, Errol Spence is an underdog because, legends, even legends. I mean, Roy Jones said some stuff about him like, oh, Errol need to fight somebody and all this. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like when it comes to Black fighters particularly, how come Black fighters are always, the measuring stick is always like insane. But then other like people like, oh, Gervonta Davis needs to fight somebody. But then Lomachenko could fight Anthony Corolla and none of the same people complain about that fight. They're, oh, that's his mandatory, he must fight him. Or Richard Comey. Like, who's Richard Comey in the grand scheme of it in 2021? You know what I'm saying? He wasn't no world beater like everybody thought he was up next. He was a guy that Teofimo stanky legged and a guy that previously got dropped and almost knocked out by Robert Easter, a U.S. Olympian. People, they didn't want to give Robert Easter credit when he beat a guy like Richard Comey when he was undefeated, but then Teo and Lomachenko get all this credit for beating Richard Comey years after, where he's pretty big for the division. He probably should have moved up, to be honest, because that becomes harder and harder to make. You start draining your body as you get older and things like that. So yeah, man, Errol Spence, he's in monster shape, insane shape. And at the end of the day, he's kind of like an underdog because he's had life deal him certain cards and he just stuck to the mission. So I respect it. I dig it. And you got old media. They wanted to see him fail. I firmly believe that. I truly, in my heart of all hearts, believe that they wanted to see him fail. Them, it's like nonstop Terrence Crawford questions. Man, he's in there with Ugas. He's a skillful Cuban boxer out the Cuban boxing school. Can we get past one thing? Boxing is becoming a circus. Boxing is becoming a circus where it's like there's no respect for the sweet science. The man is in there with a killer like Ugas coming off a career best win, and people, they talking about, oh, but what about Crawford? Bro, there ain't gonna be no Crawford if he don't get past Ugas. So what are we talking about? Like, sometimes I've learned in life, sometimes you can answer your own questions if you sound it out in your head, Like, That's like you having a job. This is boxing. This is their job. You know what I mean? So let's say you're at your job and you haven't even become department manager and you talking about being the store manager. You got to crawl before you can walk. How are you going to be the store manager? You're going to jump from the custodian to store manager. Not likely. More than likely, you're going to have to work your way through, the different levels and then get to the higher rankings. You know what I'm saying? And same goes for boxing, but people act ridiculous. Errol Spence, there's no talk about, he loses all of his belts in 2 weeks if he don't beat the man in front of him. But people keep talking about, but Crawford. Bro, Crawford is free. He's like, he don't have no fight right now. So, of course, Crawford, you could talk about him, but Errol Spence is not free. He's booked up. He's occupied. And it's a championship level fight. It's a fight nobody can complain about. It's a fight that's dangerous. It's a fight he could lose if you don't fight him the right way. Why are we talking about like stuff we already know the answer to? What is he supposed to say? Oh, yeah, I'll fight Crawford immediately after. So I'll get out the ring with Ugas at 9 p.m. and I'll fight Crawford by 9:30. It's not realistic. But again, boxing is becoming a circus where I seem to be one of the only realistic people in the whole sport who keep it a buck. But that's why I'm the greatest. Shout out to Errol Spence. He triumphed over a lot of things that a lesser person, a less mentally strong person would have crumbled. He looks to be in amazing shape, and I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for him because I'm a big fan of underdog stories and people who come out the mud and the struggle. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. And I'm out. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation.